Greg Swenson joins us, chairman of Republicans Overseas. Afternoon to you, Greg. I mean, just to pick up on something that Cormac elaborated on from our first guest, the former Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine, and that is that what sort of negotiation can begin when one party has already been acknowledged as being perhaps more junior than the other party. They were the words, paraphrasing here, of Mr. Trump. How can they move forward when they are the terms of agreement on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain truth to the argument. You know, you don't want to leave something on the table right away that's could be held back and used in negotiating. But that ship sailed a long time ago. I think it's very clear that NATO membership was off the table. I think even the Biden administration was clear about that. And so I think that this is just an illusion that needed some reality. I thought that's why Pete Hegseth's comments yesterday were wise. And so look, there needs to be negotiations and there needs to be compromise. This is not February of 2022. Cormac was right about the drip feeding. Biden, was very incrementalist in his support, as opposed to the way President Trump was in his first term, where he sent Javelin missiles and he put sanctions on Nord Stream 2, after the Biden-Obama years, where they were, shipping blankets and other non-lethal supplies to an American airbase in Poland and then quietly trucking them to Kyiv because they didn't want to offend their adversary in Putin. And that's just, appeasement 101. And so you're seeing a lot of that again with Biden drip feeding and holding back on some of the financial support that had been authorized by Congress.
So, Craig, some are seeing this as appeasement as well, even being referred to as the Chamberlain moment, the peace in our time. Look, everything's going to be fantastic, waving the paper. And then, of course, a year later, we know what happened back in the 30s. Is it that because this does look to some people that the only winner here can be Putin? If he gets a green light and is endorsed by the White House, then what does he do next? He's going to expand on that. He will be emboldened. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. In fact, again, the concessions, if you want to call them that, or the demands from both the president and the defense secretary, were ones that were so obvious. That wasn't some secret deal, where they're going to make a concession that is unwise. The NATO thing was off the table. Trump wants to, the 2014 or the pre-14 map was essentially off the table if you talk to anybody in Westminster or in Washington. So it's just unrealistic. So I think it would have been silly for them to go into negotiations with those two things still pending when everybody knows that that's off the table. I don't think Putin's going to get a free pass here. Again, if you look at the way President Trump has handled Putin in the past compared to the way Obama and Biden did, it's apples and oranges. I think he's much more serious about it.
What's in it for America to have this? I mean, obviously you could say diplomatically it's always best if countries get along nicely. It's also nice if you don't think a nuke is about to land in your backyard. All of those obvious questions. Yes, we want Putin to be to be as calm as he can be. But is there anything more going on here? I mean, I doubt whether Trump's thinking there's a great trade deal to be done with Russia. What do you think is on the agenda for Donald Trump here?
Yeah, it's impossible to predict. And President Trump is unfiltered, but also unpredictable. So he's probably got some outcome in mind. And I think he leads with peace, right? I mean, he's not a war guy. And so, he'll use military strength to great effect, and to his advantage, or the U.S. advantage, and to our allies. So I think he just wants this war to end. And again, maybe I agree with him when he often says that it never would have happened under his watch. That is true. No wars, of note started under his watch. And so, but that ship has sailed. We have to be, realistic and understand. There's got to be some realpolitik here. And I think he gets that. So, will there be a deal that's advantageous to the West, to the U.S.? Absolutely. I think one of the great outcomes of this, I hope, is that the Europeans take seriously that they have to be able to defend themselves, as the U.S. has to pay attention to China and other adversaries. So, look, this Cormac mentioned it, the 2% thing is the bare and absolute minimum. The U.S. in fact, cut defense spending under Biden 3 years in a row by 3% a year, and we're down to 3% of GDP, barely. I mean, it's really dangerous for the U.S. to be that low, and I think the Europeans have to take it seriously and get the number back up to 3 or 4%.
Listen, Greg, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Greg Swenson is the chairman of Republicans Overseas.